Welcome to the 1204. A lot of black people outside of Africa do not want to be African. They hate being African. Whether it's black people from Jamaica or black people in America. African denial is a real thing. I have heard Jamaicans deny being Africans for years. And I'm not talking about the Jamaicans who resemble Sean Paul or Supercat from the 90s. Because I've been over to Jamaica and I have seen Jamaicans who are clearly not Africans. I have seen Chinese Jamaicans who speak patois. And it's obvious that this person has no African DNA. But then you get Jamaicans who resemble Biggie Smalls, Grace Jones, Chris Eubank Sr., Usain Bolt, Trevor Berbick. You cannot tell me that Biggie Smalls does not look African. You cannot tell me that Biggie Smalls is not a African. I am a little bit surprised that you have black people in America who now refer to themselves as FBA, Foundational Black Americans. See, not too long ago, you had one of the spookiest movements ever, Black Hebrew Israelites. These were a bunch of scruffy black Americans dressed up like something out of a comic book. Wearing leather clothes with spikes. And according to those spooky black Americans, black Hebrew Israelites, they are not African. They came from Israel. I mean, listen, I can go on about those guys all day long, but I'm going to focus on the foundational black Americans in this video. So I have now heard foundational black Americans actually say they are not Africans, that black people were already in America. Listen to this carefully. So black people were already in America. Black people were the original people in America. Okay, so are you guys, so listen, I'm so confused by this. So if there were black people already in America, then can you please tell me what the fuck was that Atlantic slave trade about? What was that about? Are you telling me that slaves were not taken from West Africa, from the coast of West Africa to the Americas? Are you telling me that slaves were not taken from the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana. Are you telling me that no slaves were taken from those places to America? So the slave trade never happened because the black people you see today in America, they have been there forever. Here's the thing. Whenever you see black people outside of the continent of Africa deny being African, have you noticed they always have some ridiculous, silly story about how they are not African? You've got these spooky guys wearing leather outfits with spikes talking about how they are from Israel, but they went to Africa to hide from the Romans, and the Africans sold them to the white man. And they believe that this shit was all written in the Holy Scriptures, aka the Holy Bible. And not only that, they also claim that Jesus was a black guy who is also from Israel. He had a white afro and his eyes were red because he was drinking wine. And Jesus is going to return one day with a sword, a sharp sword, and he is going to cut the head of the stinking Africans. And he's going to enslave the white man for enslaving his people, the Hebrew Israelites. But they also claim that God put them in slavery because they disobeyed. Do you know what? I am digressing. But I'm just trying to highlight how ridiculous black people are when they deny being African. Just like those damn Jamaicans, it's the same thing. Listen, I don't mind if it's a Jamaican that resembles Sean Paul. Or if it's a Chinese Jamaican. I can get that. But you are not going to tell me that Grace Jones is not an African. You cannot tell me that Usain Bolt is not an African. Those people look very much African. And you Americans, you FBA people are full of shit. Like think about it this way. Sorry. Think about this. The same FBA people who are claiming not to be Africans, because according to them, they were already in America. So if that's the case here, then what do you want the reparations for? What's the reparations for then? What is the reparations for? Isn't reparations another form of compensation? Because if you guys were not hogtied on that damn boat, one-way ticket, stacked up in a boat like sardines to Americas to go and serve the white man, the Oyibo man. If that didn't happen, then what do you want the reparations for? Now, trust me, the alternative is not a good look for you FBA people. Because according to the leader of the FBA, Mr. Tariq Nasheed, by the way, whose name does not sound very FBA, And I'm willing to bet that his name is not really Tariq Nasheed. His name is something. His name is probably something like Demarcus Jackson or Demarcus Williams. I suspect that's his name. Anywho, so Tariq Nasheed, the leader of the FBA movement, he always goes on about how Africans, especially Nigerians, are weak because they fled their country and they didn't stay and fight. Even though these Nigerians were born in America or born in the United Kingdom, he's still saying that they fled. Now, what he's trying to say is because their parents or grandparents moved to America or England, therefore they fled. The children fled, even though they were born in America or United Kingdom. How ridiculous is that? So, by that logic, I can then turn it around on you and say, you guys were slaves and you didn't fight. You didn't fight. You guys are walking around with machetes in your hand, cutting sugarcane, cutting trees. And you've got one Oyibo man on a horse with a whip. And you're telling me that you brave, strong FBA could not cut that Oyibo man's head off. Oh, but 1204, Nat Turner was cutting off people's heads. Nat Turner was in the minority. The majority of you people did not fight. You didn't have that energy. That Oyibo man was working you people like slaves. I mean, but that's what you guys were, right? And I say you guys because seeing as you want to talk about people fleeing and things like that, even though people were born in America or the United Kingdom, I can then say that you were the slave and you did not do anything to change that. How ridiculous does that sound? So let's get this straight. You guys are not Africans because black people were always in America. Now, this is not a good look because that would mean that rather than you guys getting hogtied and stuffed on that boat like sardines to the Americas to serve the Oyibo man for free, by the way. So that didn't happen. But what you guys are actually suggesting that happened is actually a lot worse because you guys were in that country first, right? In the United States of America. You guys were in that country first. So how is it that these Europeans from England and Ireland went over to the United States of America? And how comes that these people were able to dominate the original people of the American land? How comes they were able to get these guys to be cutting sugarcane for 20 hours of the day? How comes they were able to rape these people, to control these people in their own land? So if I was you guys, I would go for the whole African slave trade theory, where you guys, were taken from, you guys were bought from Ghana, Gambia, Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, Nigeria. You guys were bought from those places, hog-tied like a pig, stuffed on a boat like sardines, and one way ticket straight to America to serve the Igbo man. Because trust me, the alternative makes you guys even look even more pathetic and weak. Peace.